this is Dr. Liv with New Insight, and thank you for joining me in another video. In today's video, I will be discussing the fearful-avoidant attachment style and key considerations for the individual and their partner. Fearful avoidants tend to desire love and connection, yet also fear it and sabotage it at the same time. In relationships, they're hot and cold, inconsistent, and they may praise you one minute and then complain and criticize you the next. They often feel dissatisfied and may seem demanding and controlling. Underneath their seemingly apathetic and dismissive exterior, they fear abandonment and rejection. Therefore, there may be times when they show affection and closeness, followed by coldness and disconnect, and vice versa. They feel uncomfortable with vulnerability and will dissociate from their emotions. They are oftentimes mistrustful and suspicious of others. They'll keep conversations superficial and oftentimes have difficulty establishing and maintaining meaningful relationships. They are often impulsive and will form superficial relationships, yet quickly cut people off if they feel disrespected, offended, hurt, and so on. Their hot and cold behaviors causes their partner to feel confused and frustrated. It can also create a dynamic that worsens or develops anxious attachment in a partner. The partner desires the closeness so much until he or she eagerly anticipates it, craves it, and will overcompensate to get it from the fearful avoidant partner. The partner with anxious attachment only feels secure when he or she has the attention, affection, and validation from the fearful avoidant partner. However, the fearful avoidant is unpredictable and inconsistent with these behaviors. Now I will discuss key considerations for the partners of fearful avoidance. Be understanding and validating. Acknowledge and support your partner. Adjust your expectations to ensure you're being reasonable and fair. Don't expect more from the person or your partner than they are capable of providing. Now, this does not mean you don't deserve what you're asking for, but do understand your partner's capacity to actually give this to you or show up for you in this manner. And this is where oftentimes you have to face the hard truths and call it like it is, instead of spinning your wheels, going nowhere, losing yourself, or giving up and settling for less than what you deserve. Continue to be loving, loyal, and consistent. Don't take their behaviors personally. And yes, it affects you, but understand that it's deeper than you. In fact, it's actually less about you and more about their inner wounds, insecurities, fears, and adverse life experiences. It is imperative that you challenge and change any negative, self-defeating, and self-critical thinking. For example, thoughts that tell you you're inadequate, or that you don't deserve affection and healthy love, or that if the person loved you, they would just do right by you, or that you can somehow get the person to change. Understand that your empathy, understanding, and patience does not mean you have to remain in a relationship where you're not happy or where your needs aren't being met for whatever reason. There are times when, despite love and chemistry, you and the other person are simply incompatible. And oftentimes, fearful avoidants do not have the emotional maturity or emotional availability to sustain meaningful connections. And if you find that you're consumed with anger, resentment, anxiety, or depression, and you and your partner have talked, tried to reach a compromise, and the relationship issues remain unchanged, as difficult as it is, you have to make the hard decision. And this is where the cost-benefit analysis comes into play, to weigh the pros and cons of staying versus ending the relationship. Don't lose yourself trying to love them or trying to save the relationship. Now, here are key considerations for the fearful avoidant person. Understand that even though your behavior may feel normal to you, it does not mean that it's right or healthy. Be willing to engage in careful self-examination and work on any core issues you might have. For example, issues from abuse, abandonment, or any other trauma or negative life experiences. Be willing to identify self-sabotaging and counterproductive behaviors and habits and understand how they affect your interpersonal relationships. Adopt a growth mindset to help you take accountability. Own your part in the problems, no matter how difficult or unfair your circumstances may have been, and be open and receptive to learning ways to establish and maintain meaningful relationships. Understand that you will experience challenges with distress tolerance and emotional regulation as you face your fears, talk about sensitive and vulnerable topics, and as you listen to how your behaviors have impacted others. Accept constructive criticism and do the work to make changes and improvements. In conclusion, fearful avoidants are oftentimes insecure, afraid, and confused. They have faulty beliefs and expectations about themselves, others, and especially as it relates to love and forming connections with others. And these distorted beliefs must be addressed so that more helpful and healthier thought patterns can be formed, and they can learn more functional ways to show up in their relationships. I hope this helps. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video.